You ready? Okay.
You might want to use one if anybody will get one of these.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call and disclosure of conflict of interest.
Stuart Ward,
Present, and I do need to recuse myself from agenda item number 4, agenda item number 8, and agenda item number 10.
Edward Ulrich,
Here and nothing to disclose.
Barbara Hill,
Here and nothing to disclose.
Chad Selenite,
Present and nothing to disclose.
All right. Moving on, preliminary business, agenda clarification.
Hal Jensen, Planning Director, Bannock County. There are no changes to the agenda. Recommend that you approve the agenda as outlined.
I move to approve the agenda as outlined.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 No opposition? Okay, no minutes to approve. Okay, so we'll move right into the public hearing items.
Stuart, real quickly prior to moving forward,
Yes.
before we go, this will be council member Barbara Hill's last meeting. We would like to go on the record and thank her for her service and her diligence. She has been a great council member, and we just want to say thank you, Barb.
Thanks, Barb.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate that.
Next item is that Mr. Evans, because of a change in his particular schedule, submitted his resignation, so we will have 2 new council members ready to go in September. Commission is working on those 2 council members moving forward.
Okay. Okay. Okay, now we'll move into the public hearing. If there's anybody here that is speaking as a public member on any of the public hearing items, you do need to fill out one of these sheets. So if you haven't done one, I think they're out in the hallway, or they're right, I think, do you have them right there?
yes.
Yeah, so there's some right there. Where'd they go? There we go. Okay, let me read this first before we open the public hearing. This is a scheduled meeting of the Bannock County Planning and Development Council. Planning Council serves in both a decision-making capacity and an advisory capacity to the Board of County Commissioners. Decisions made by the Planning Council may be appealed to the County Commissioners within 10 days of the decision by the Planning Council. Please call the Office of Planning and Development Services prior to the 10-day deadline for instructions for filing an appeal. The public hearing will proceed as follows. A presentation will be made by the applicant with a time limit of 6 minutes. An explanation of the subject of the hearing is presented by staff with no time limit. Testimony is then given by the audience in favor of the proposal, then neutral to the proposal and against the proposal. Questioning of the participants and rebuttals are entertained by the Planning and Development Council. Testimonies are limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will, or then may abut the arguments offered by the opposition. Planning and Development Council will discuss the hearing subject. They may direct questions to staff, the applicant, and the audience during this stage of the hearing process. The hearing is then closed to public testimony from the applicant and the audience, and the hearing process is concluded. The council accepts oral testimony and may accept limited written testimony from those in attendance, but only if the parties have filled out the testimony sign-in sheet. If you have submitted written testimony as part of the packet, you cannot also give oral testimony unless it is to read the written testimony into the record. In order to keep a clear audio recording of this hearing, when testifying, a person must come to the podium, state his or her full name and address. Comments will not be accepted from the audience seats, and discriminatory testimony will not be permitted. There shall be no booing, hissing, or cheering. In addition, if you're here tonight and you're angry, that's okay, but please don't take your anger out on the council members. They are charged by law to keep a clear record of the proceedings, consider the factual testimony, and to uphold county and state rules and regulations. Thank you for the courtesy to us and to others as we move through this process. Is there anybody that does not understand what I just read? No. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open public hearing.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Public hearing is now open. Agenda item number 4. I'll introduce it and then I will recuse myself. Okay.
That's fine.
It's a variance from section 475.13 driveways. Aaron Arnson requests a variance from the driveway standards. The current standard requires the driveway to be built no less than 20 feet wide at all points. The applicant proposes a 15-foot width at all points. The affected property is addressed as 8611 North Craft Road, Pocatello 83204. Procedures and standards for valuing a variance petition are found in section 540 of the county zoning ordinance. Okay,
Excellent.
time to the applicant.
Yep. There.
You need the timer.
Yep. Chad, can you be my timer? Yeah.
I didn't bring my phone.
Okay.
On purpose.
So name and address in 6 minutes here.
Aaron Arnson, address is 4882 Wiltshire Street, Chubbuck, Idaho 83202. So based upon the driveways ordinance, the current property does not allow to widen the road in the straight areas because of slope. We've had an analysis done. There'd be a great impact if we do so. We also had North Bannock Fire out because I know a lot of this pertains to if they can get trucks in and out of there if there's a fire or an emergency. He has wrote a letter to help with the variance that we're requesting. So what we plan on doing is all the curves, we will widen the curves to accept, the movement. And then at the very top where we have the T, we were gonna actually make that a code specific hammerhead so that the truck can come in, back up, and be able to get out. Current aggregate that's on the road now is about 7+ inches. We plan on bringing enough aggregate in to meet spec, which I believe was like 12 inches or more. And then we also plan on addressing all water flow and any erosion issues that may arise. But as far as things have been over the years, I mean, this road has been here for a very long time. It's maintained its structure very well. So we want to try to minimize how much we do disturb that area as well. So I'm hoping that you guys will give us the blessing based upon the evidence that we have to essentially support emergency and anybody else that can come in there in the curves but leave the straightaways alone. It also, if we do have to do the whole road according to driveway standards, it's going to greatly impact the client's ability to be able to put their garage in attached to the current home because of the overall cost. So it will definitely play into that and essentially may end up not being able to do the project. They do have a couple buildings further down the driveway, but in the winters it gets pretty slick. They are older, so it becomes a a walking issue, right? So we wanna try to minimize that. They have vehicles too that they would like to keep inside, that are, you know, deteriorating in the weather and whatnot. So this would greatly, reduce a lot of these negatives that they have. But at the same time, we wanna try to minimize the amount of money that's put into the road if we don't have to do it. So that's what I'm asking for, is a variance to, do it in that manner.
Okay. We may have you come back. Do you have any questions for him right now?
I don't, as long as the hammerheads and the corners have been handled, I don't have any questions, so.
Okay, so we'll move on to the staff report.
Hi, my name's Ann Hughes Williams, the Bannock County zoning planner. We've had the staff report for about a week now. Do you have any questions for us?
Trying to get back to it. So the reason we're even seeing this is we're doing a garage, and the existing structure, the existing driveway does not meet the current code, correct?
Correct.
Even though it's been like this for a long time.
Correct.
So, I imagine that the client plus the county has come up with the solution of widening the curves so that the fire trucks can make it in there, or is that something the fire department made a recommendation for, or do we know?
Tristan Borkman, Assistant Planning Director. I believe that is correct, that the fire district came out and they helped them come up with this plan on where they could widen it to help accommodate the trucks.
Okay. I don't have any other questions for staff.
As a point of clarification for council, driveway standards for our ordinance were driven by the WUI code, the Wildland Urban Interface. And it basically states that anything over 150 feet long should be 20 feet wide. Okay, so we adopted that years ago and it's been in place. Not all square pegs fit round holes. Mr. Arnson has done his due diligence with the fire department, knowing that it's the fire department that is the driver behind this, and they have the support from the fire department. That was grounds for recommending approval.
Excellent. Barb, you got any questions?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't believe so, yeah.
No, I don't believe so. We may have stated something incorrect here, Barb.
But I think we can fix that with a condition, if that's, so we'll just make the condition, we'll keep the 15 feet, we'll make that condition
Yes.
that it meets what the fire department's requiring.
Right, and that was through those questions, so that's what we had stated, is we will pertain to the fire department's request.
Okay. Do we have any, okay, so that's Megan Razor. Do we have a Megan Razor?
Yes.
Which hearing were you, filled this out for?
Let me see if I can get that number.
Was it for number 4? It wasn't? Okay.
No.
You dig up that number while we proceed with this one then. Okay. 5, 8. Okay. All right. Then if that's okay, Barb, if you and Chad are okay, I'm gonna move through these findings.
Yep, that's great.
Okay. All right. So the applicant has shown that there is not a reasonable alternative. Based on the existing conditions of the road and the requirements that will be met, the requirements from the fire department that will be met on the curves and the hammerhead turner. We have somebody recording that, Tristan, okay. Does that sound, anything you want to add to that one?
Yep, absolutely.
Does that sound all right to you, Barb? Okay.
So I have, this is based on the existing conditions of the road and the requirements that will be met from the fire district.
Yep. We're gonna be repeating that, so you might be able to copy that one, yes. Okay, so number 2 is the variance is not in conflict with public interest. It's been existing like this, I should ask that question, how long has it been?
40, 50 years.
40, 50 years, so we haven't had a problem with public, so it's based on the existing conditions and the time in which it's already been in place.
The driveway has been existing at this width for over 50 years and there's been no conflict up to this point.
Correct. Number 3 is the variance will not adversely affect adjacent properties. This driveway sits on 5 point, I don't want to go back, it's over 5 acres, correct? And it does not come anywhere near the neighbor's property. So it does not adversely affect the neighboring properties.
This parcel is over 5 acres and this request will not affect the neighboring properties since this is contained on the parcel in the application.
That's exactly what I said. Okay, thank you. All right, number 4 is if the variance is not granted, the applicant will suffer undue hardship caused by the physical characteristics of the site. Trying to keep this without my opinion in here. In order to bring it to a 20-foot standard would be significant engineering, excavation, and cost to the owner.
Disturbing an existing driveway. So,
And natural habitats.
In order to bring the driveway to a 20-foot standard, it would require significant engineering and would disturb natural habitat and the existing driveway.
Correct. All right, and then the only condition we'll put on there is that it meets the requirements that the fire department has arranged with you previously. Do we have a copy of that letter?
It's attached.
Okay, so we can just put, meet the requirements, the attached letter from the fire department. Any other conditions, Chad?
no,
Barb, do you have any other conditions you want to add? Okay,
Okay, so I've written the condition to state the driveway must meet the requirements as outlined in the letter from the fire district.
good with that.
correct.
Okay,
Absolutely.
excellent. We need a motion. So there's a sample motion on page 45.
I'll do it. Based on the record and discussion this evening, I move to approve the request by Aaron Arnson requesting a variance from the driveway to be built 15-foot width at all points as described in the application materials, as supplemented with additional information attached in the staff report or according to testimony received, and to adopt the proposed findings and order for signature by the chair or vice chair.
Adding the condition.
Adding the fire district's conditions on the end.
Do you want me to read it into the
Yep,
motion?
please do.
The driveway must meet the requirements as outlined in the letter from the fire district.
Excellent. We got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Oh.
Okay, so we need to alter that motion. Yep. I caught it when I was reading it, but then didn't say anything, so I should've. All right, so we're gonna change your motion, so
Mhm.
if you can read that again and just say, the variance from will be built,
Okay, but the existing 15 feet.
plus the conditions.
Plus the conditions that
Yep.
the fire district
Yeah,
is.
so just take that at all points off.
So do you just want me to read the whole thing again?
Yep, and then just take that at all points off.
Okay. Based on the record and discussion this evening, I move to approve the request by Aaron Arnson requesting a variance from the driveway to, I don't know how I word this, to be built 15-foot width at, I guess I can add, at existing straightaways, as described in the application materials, as supplemented with additional information attached in the staff report according to testimony received, and to adopt the proposed findings and order for signature by the chair or vice chair with the conditions.
The driveway must meet the requirements as outlined in the letter from the fire district.
Which would be the corners and the hammerhead.
Then the corners and the, yep. Now Barb, you can second if you would like. We have a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 4. Roll call vote?
Barbara Hill. Chad Selenite,
Yes.
Edward Ulrich.
Yes.
Perfect. You're-
Carries a 3-0 vote. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, appreciate it, guys.
And you can stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like.
Yeah. Appreciate it, have a good night, guys.
We're good on 5, right?
Yep, I'm good on 5. Okay. Did Megan figure out what agenda?
it's 6.
Number 6? The subdivision concept plan?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item number 5. Excuse me, is a variance from section 337, building book bulk and placement standards. Frank Holden requests a variance to reduce the right-of-way setback requirements from 30 feet to 15 feet for one residential accessory structure. The affected property is currently addressed as 9525 West Gibson Jack Road, Pocatello 83204. Procedures and standards for evaluating the variance are found in section 540, of the Bannock County zoning ordinance. Frank.
Hello, I'm Frank Holden, address 9525 West Gibson Jack, Pocatello, Idaho 83204. What I've came for is to request the variance of the setback from the road to build a outbuilding, garage, whichever you like to call it, up off the road. And the reason I need the setback is the steepness of the road as it drops off. There's a bench up there that's maybe 30 feet wide altogether. And I want to give my setback from 30 feet to 15 feet so that we can build on there without any additional, I mean, it's going to be, because the angle of the hill there is super steep, and it's just going to be really hard to build anywhere else up there. Then where we proposed, the other thing about that situation right there is utilities are already in place. There's a utility pole there that goes down to our residence, plus there's a gas line so we'll be able to hook into. So there'll be less things disturbed along that way. The building we plan on putting in there is a 26 by 26 building with a shed roof. The angle of the roof will pretty much parallel the angle of the road, so it has minimal invasion look upon the road or coming or going up and down the hill. Just don't feel that it would, by getting close to the road, it won't seem to disturb anything else around the area. The neighbors' driveways are considerably away from what we want to work at. And that's kind of about it, just need a little more space to build on that hillside where we're at. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me on that or not.
I don't right now.
No questions.
I just have one question for
Sure.
you. So, the distance that you're requesting from 30 to 15, is that just based on the area that's up there? Or is the right of way and your property line, like you know where that is, so you know that you only have that distance?
Correct. Yeah,
So-
from the property line in, it says we have to be 30 feet.
Right.
From the property line in, if we go to 15 feet, it would improve our building site immensely.
Okay.
And right now, there's a berm on the road that goes along there, so we're actually gonna build about where the berm is, so there's not gonna be too much displacement of other materials in there or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's almost a 1-to-1 slope right there on the backside of it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you knew where the property line was and we were not going off the edge of the road.
Correct.
Because most likely the road's not centered in the right of way. And,
Yep.
and I know the area, and so I know where you're talking about. I just wanna
Okay.
make sure that
Didn't we
Yeah.
just
we're
vote
not,
on the
we're
next
not
one now?
granting a variance and then based on an assumption, if
I
that makes sense.
understand that, yep.
So,
Didn't we just do this one here too? Didn't we just have-
that was the only question I had for you.
Okay.
Barb, do you have any questions? Okay. We may have more questions for you,
Okay.
but we've got some public here, some public that want to speak. So you're excused for a little bit. We'll have this public and then we'll have you come back if
Okay.
you need to.
That is Frank. Sorry,
Oh.
I just wrote on you. Oh, no, that's
No,
right. Nope,
no.
okay, you're right.
No.
Okay, I read that wrong.
That's his name right there,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
His name's on the paper.
yeah. I'm glad I got that.
Okay, I do have one person signed up for support.
We want to hear the county.
Oh, yes, sorry. Staff, sorry. I'm just anxious to get through all these items.
That's my job.
Annie Hughes
Yeah,
Williams,
thank
Bannock
you.
County zoning planner. Got the staff report for a week or so. Do you have any questions for us?
My only question is, I guess it falls back onto Kyle. This 15 foot on the edge of that roadway, leave road and bridge enough room for utilities and for work that would need to be done on that road,
Or snow
or
removal.
snow removal?
Kyle Burmester, Public Works Director. It's a local road, so it's not as high a volume road. I don't think it'll interrupt our snow maintenance and utilities, but I'm kind of looking at usage of the road. Like I say, it's a local, lower volume. What's above his residence is limited in development. So I don't really have a problem with it.
You say it's a local road, but the residents up there probably disagree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably close to changing classification.
But, okay. You have any questions for staff?
No, I don't have any questions.
Barb, any questions for staff? Okay, now we'll get to the public. Thank you.
Not Frank.
Not,
Randy.
not Frank. Randy, in support and wishes to testify.
Yeah, I'm Randy Shilton Davis, and I live just on the parcel farther west than Frank and Diane's house. And it's kind of a convoluted thing of how me and Frank got together and split this property, but we bought it. My stepdad was part of this Wild Horse subdivision at that time, and so I kind of bought 19 acres, too big, I couldn't afford it at the time, So somebody, my dad, I think, found Frank, and we're kind of from high school, you know, and everything else, so it's been a real good arrangement. But when we split the property, there was two things that to me was an issue. He had a small, but a bench, and it offered him just tremendous privacy down in there in the creek bottom. Mine, that slope goes right to the right of way, right through the, you know, right to the road. And so I grew trees to get my privacy, and he's had the bench. But so that's kind of the history of us kind of getting together, but it's been a great arrangement. I don't see how this will, the very little traffic in and out to this little garage shed thing, and I don't see how it affect any utilities, snow removal, maintenance of the road, you know, tree trimming, anything, you know. I just don't see any problem with it. And I'd say 100% of the people that drove up Gibson Jack and 100% of the people that drove down Gibson Jack can never see his house. This would be the only thing he sees, that anyone will see now. And that's really tremendous privacy. But I would say what he's done down there has been a class act. He's got a really, really nice place. And I have all the faith and confidence in the world that what he's gonna do up on top there will be another class act, because that's just how he operates. And I just have no objection. I think it's a good idea. I have a more wide open space down in the creek, and he's had a lot worse topography to build on, and yet he's done a great job at it. We're both happy, and I just say, let him do what he needs to do to be comfortable there, and I don't think it affects anything. You know, that's my heartfelt opinion, and if you have questions for me, you'd ask me if you'd like. So.
I don't think we do right now. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. I don't have anybody signed up neutral or opposed. Frank, is there anything else you want to address?
Well, you know, like Randy said, we've been there a long time. I think we bought that property in 1980, built in 1990, and I've been there a long time. I'd like to stay there as long as I can. And the other thing about having this structure on top is going to allow me to put some snow removal stuff up there. So instead of pushing snow up the hill, which I've been doing for a long time, as I get older, it's going to be easier for me to plow from the bottom or from the top down for snow removal. It's going to help me able to stay in the home longer, which is vital to us. But also did have the district fire, I'm sure who he was, he came by when I was out on the road one time and asked me about it because he had heard and looked around. He said he had absolutely no problem with what's going to go on there. So anyhow, it's
Okay.
kind of where we're at. And you were wondering kind of like snow removal and stuff. I've seen that road plowed for years, and they won't even come pushing snow. I don't care how much they have. Even if the neighbor pushes their snow across the road when they plow their driveway, there'll still be ample space there for snow removal.
Okay. Perfect.
I
Thank
don't know
you.
if that was a concern or not, but anyhow.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Are you guys ready to work through findings?
Let's work through findings.
Yeah. Okay. The applicant has shown there is not a reasonable alternative. This is based on the topography of the site and the well, it's basically based on topography.
Yeah, topography, you don't have any other option.
Yeah. I lost it right there.
I would just say that based on topography of the site, there's no other options for this structure.
So this is based on the topography of the site and lack of additional options for the structure.
Perfect. Number 2, the variance is not in conflict with public interest. I think this is based on the public that did show up were in support, and County Road and Bridge did not have any concerns.
The public were in support and the county road and bridge did not have any concerns.
Perfect. Number 3, the variance will not adversely affect adjacent property.
It's 10 acres and it's self-contained.
Yeah, and it's far, a distance away from many zoning structures, for sure.
The property is 10 acres and is self-contained. It is also a distance from any other structures.
Perfect. Number 4, if the variance is not granted, the applicant will suffer undue hardship caused by the physical characteristics of the site. Like we talked about, topography, and there's a creek down in the bottom.
Yep.
There's really no other option.
The physical characteristics limit any options outside this variance.
Very well put.
She's still gonna change it on me.
Sorry, I was already typing and not listening to you. So the topography doesn't offer many options due to the significant sloping and the location of the creek.
Perfect. Okay. No conditions?
No conditions.
You want a motion?
Okay, ready for a motion?
Based on the record and discussion this evening, I move to approve the request by Frank Holden to reduce the right-of-way setback requirements from 30 to 15 feet as described in the application material as supplemented with additional information attached in the staff report according to the testimony received, and to adopt the proposed findings in order for signature by the chair or vice chair.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Barbara Hill, Chad Selenite,
Yes.
Edward Ulrich,
Yes.
Stuart Ward.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 4-0. You're good. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
My time ready for you. I didn't know if we timed the last one.
I will.
I got you. Are you doing 6?
Number 6, yep. Agenda item number 6. Is a concept plan, subdivision concept plan for Purser subdivision. Matt Baker proposes a 3-lot open space subdivision with a total acreage of approximately 16.33 acres. The development proposes individual wells and septic systems. The subject property is located in the northwest quarter of the southwest quarter of section 9, township 9 south, range 38 east, Boise Meridian, Bannock County, is currently unaddressed. Buildable lots will be between 3.0 and 3.58 acres in size. Procedures and criteria for evaluating the concept plan are found in section 302 of the Bannock County subdivision ordinance. Okay, Matt? Okay, perfect.
I didn't know everything, so Matt helped me do all the survey stuff. So I'm Tanner Purser. You got my address, right?
Yes, please.
14386 South Attleboro Drive. That's in Harriman, Utah. 84096. Basically, what happened is we came down. I've been coming to a lot of years. I have a couple other properties up here, but I don't get to visit them very often because we Airbnb them out. But this one, I decided I told my wife as I got older, I realized I don't like people as much, so I'm moving out of Salt Lake City. And we're gonna build a lot. And we told my mother-in-law, and she wanted to follow. So I said, well, I just bought this lot, it's 18 plus acres. So we'd split off 3 acres, and the lot 2 is the lot I would keep, and then lot 3 is an open space, so nothing gets built in that anyways. So it's just the bottom of this one. There, so that, I think it's roughly 9 acres, 10 acres on lot 3, and then 3.5 and 3-acre lots. So, I'm sure you have questions.
We may, give us just a minute.
No worries.
The only question I had is there was, in the staff report, it talked about a previous minor land division that was done on this a few years ago. My only question is the open space any different from what that is? Do you know?
I didn't do that. Prior
Alright.
owner did. Megan is here.
Matt,
Or Matt.
can you answer that question for me?
Sure can.
Matt Baker, 366 Washington, Pocatello, Idaho. So lot 3 would be the open space. It did not change from the original minor land division survey that was recorded in 2020. It's exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Perfect. And then, and this may be a question for Tanner again, but the recommended conditions,
7 of them there.
there's 7 of them. Well, I got 2 questions for it. One is, condition number 7 is the subdivision name shall be changed and presented to council on the preliminary plat. Are you guys aware of that condition? And
I wasn't, no.
okay,
I don't, yeah, we can change it. I don't, I'm not tied to anything.
Okay.
It'll never be used.
okay. So that, just make you aware of that.
Okay.
And they, staff does cite Idaho code.
Is there
Because
already
of-
Pheasant Valley, is that what it was or something?
Well, there's Pheasant Ridge and Pheasant
Okay.
Ridge.
Oh.
There's 2 of them, I thought.
Yeah,
They're
basically it's
very
Pheasant Ridge.
similar, Yeah.
And then the access easement, from what I understand, that's an existing access easement? That 50 foot?
That was an existing easement shown on the record, served the minor land division, so it's to access the property to the south.
Okay.
So right now it's showing a 50-foot, and so they're making a requirement that it's be 60 feet wide.
Exactly for, yeah.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I thought I saw the Lava Fire District recommended a 50-foot, but maybe I'm mixing it up, but I thought I read into their report.
No, I know that they want 60 feet for their new access.
Okay.
Once I know exactly where he
county.
wants it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, through lot 3, I probably won't change that. Do they want 60 feet for the whole thing? Because this is just for the access to the back, there's no roads there.
It just says access easement to be no less than 60 feet wide, and access easement must connect to the parcel south of lot 3.
Okay.
So there's 2 different conditions there, but, so it does basically say it's gotta go all the way through.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's got, that parcel below it is mini Utah right there. And there is no other access to that parcel, it looks like.
Yeah.
So that's probably what they're trying to make sure is we're not landlocking that.
And
next
then
parcel.
and then it does say that a cul-de-sac needs to be placed at the south end of lot 2. Like a turnaround,
Okay, I didn't know, I wasn't aware of that.
yeah.
And that's gonna be pretty hard because that's pretty steep terrain.
Do we have that topographic in there?
We go back to the,
I was under the impression that we just had to have a cul-de-sac for a turnaround inside lot 2 somewhere for a fire truck, but not clear at the south end of lot 2.
okay, we'll talk to staff about that and see, but
Okay. I don't,
looking at that,
Yeah, that'd be.
it'd be, well, that's the south of lot 3, lot 2 would be about right in there somewhere. About halfway down, I think. Yeah. Okay. I think those are the biggest ones. The other ones are kind of standard stormwater and stuff like that, so. Okay. Those are my only questions for you. So, okay, thank you. No, I guess The only question I have for you, Tanner, is those
Yeah.
conditions, do you have any issues with any of them other than the cul-de-sac placement?
No,
Okay.
I don't have any issues.
Okay. Just wanna make sure you're aware before we get to the end and throw all these conditions at you and
Yeah, no, that's fine.
you don't understand them, so, okay. Perfect. Okay. That's all I have. Staff.
Al Jensen, Planning Director. Elise Foster did the staff report, and I am representing her comments. Do you have any questions? I believe Mr. Baker took care of all of your questions relative to any conditions. If you choose to move forward with this, it would be my recommendation that you discuss the practicality of the placement of the cul-de-sac on whether or not it needs to go all the way through, or if it just needs to provide access to Lot 2 within practical reason of the slope, contour, etc. of the lot. Other than that, I don't have anything else for you.
Okay.
Well, and that was the question I had is if the cul-de-sac that they're asking for is for turnaround for fire, if that's what it's for, and they're not gonna access the south end of the lot, does it really matter where it's at, as long as it can access where the house is,
Yeah, well, the structure is gonna be.
or the structure that it's protecting?
That's your call to deliberate.
Yep. And so I'm gonna lean on you and your expertise and you. So,
Kyle Burmester, that kind of thing. I was working with Elise on this and Matt, and we looked at, with the site visit and stuff, we looked at the steepness of it. With it being a subdivision, normally that would be a connect to all lots. There still is the easement, but with the steepness of the terrain, it didn't make sense to go. You still have access to the open space with that 60 foot, but it was our recommendation to just go into the beginning of lot 2.
okay, because 3 is gonna be deed restricted anyway, so there never will be a structure that will need access to it on 3. Okay. Are you good with that?
Well, and the parcel to the south is probably pretty steep too.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, I was looking at that. That's the access to that parcel to the south.
Yeah.
If they ever decide to use it for that, I mean, but either way.
Okay.
So we will just need to change,
I'll have to revise that condition a little bit. when we get to that
revise,
point.
yep, we can revise. I'm gonna write it down so that I don't have to scramble to try to find it again.
Okay.
Condition number 4.
Yep.
Okay, public comment. Megan, did you wanna testify?
I can. So I'm his neighboring lot.
I just need your
Name and address.
that's
Yeah,
all.
Megan Razor, 7303 South Pheasant Drive, Lava Hot Springs, Idaho.
Go ahead.
And you're in support?
I am in support, yeah, my husband and he actually purchased these parcels from us. And so we are in huge support for him and his family to come in and develop. It won't be blocking any views or anything of the valley. He will be so far in the back. All of the other homes are more up front. And, he'll have a river view, but nobody will, really see his house from blocking that area. So he's more up on the hillside area.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Alright. And I don't have anybody signed up neutral or opposed. Is there anything else you wanna bring up?
No, well, just on this, when you're saying on the turnaround, right? So you're at the front of the lot, are you saying bring the road through to lot 2 and then that's probably where you'd have your turnaround?
That's the way the condition is written right now.
I just want to make sure I was understanding.
Yeah, the
Okay.
condition is written that at the south side of lot 2, there would be a cul-de-sac, a turnaround.
Okay,
But based on what you've told us, we'll probably change that due to the topography.
okay.
So,
I just want to make sure I understood that, so.
yeah. So, okay. Perfect. Alright. Anything else to discuss?
just that cul-de-sac, I'm just trying to figure out how we're gonna change that condition to meet his needs.
I'm writing it.
Okay, do we need to know where he's gonna place the? Okay. Alright, good.
So I do have, currently I have a driveway excavation permit to start the road, because we do have the one.
Will you come up here?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So from my understanding is when I talked to them today is that they were gonna give our contractor the permit to start a road
Okay.
up there. And it's gonna come up through the middle, so, but we can modify the road to however that turnaround, the cul-de-sac has to be.
And I assume you're involved with
Well,
that.
I think um, so your driveway will kind of meander through your lot.
Yeah, it'll go
The
through
access,
one.
I think the concern is the access to the south, so that 60-foot, having a turnaround on that 60-foot
Yeah,
is what the
which should
concern
probably
is.
be a little different. Can I show you on the map?
Yes,
sure.
So on the map right here, that how the contractor has it, the road comes down here and it comes up here to our lot, and then it follows this and then back down, because of how steep this is. It makes a loop and then it comes back up there. Because this is about right here is where the house is at.
So you're gonna sit back and back. Okay.
Yeah.
So we believe that that's really, pretty much something like that, we just need to be able to access the house.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
We'll change condition number 4 to.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions, Barb? Comments? Okay. Where are we? This one. Okay. You ready to move through findings?
Yep.
Okay.
As long as Chad and Barb are.
Yeah, I have no questions.
No comments?
No comments, the easement, and the turnaround. I think changing that condition is really for fire access, you know.
And it's fair.
Okay. So one quick question, with that change, is it technically a design deviation or no?
No.
Okay, just wanna make sure before we get to that point. Okay. Findings, the proposed tentative plan is in conformance with the Bannock County Comprehensive Plan, is in conformance with applicable provisions of this ordinance and other county ordinances and Idaho code. Yes, it is. Can we just put
I'll let
yes?
you chat with
Can
Brian
we just
about
put
that.
yes? It's in conformance with county code with open space and, policy 2.5.1, promote recreational open spaces in new developments with a focus on natural resources protection and habitat and wildlife preservation. And objective 3.2, encourage preservation of natural ecosystems, wildlife habitats, and recreation connections to ag lands. Did you get all that? Did I talk too fast?
So I have, it is in conformance with open space regulations and policy 2.5.1 and objective 3.2 of the comprehensive plan.
Sounds good.
And right of way width of whatever our HSRDP.
Ready for us to move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Number 2, the proposed roads and bridges are designed and constructed according to section 402 of the subdivision ordinance. A design deviation was not requested and was not granted. the proposed access easement width is in accordance with
HSRDP.
HSRDP. There you go. Okay, number 3, yeah?
Yep.
Proposed partitioning of land does not prohibit the extension of dedicated streets or roads. The access is a private access easement and is not a dedicated road. Number 4, the proposed partitioning will not conflict with legally established easements or access within or adjacent to the proposed land partition. I think the easement as shown, the access easement as shown,
Is an extension of an existing easement.
That's right.
yeah.
Pheasant Drive.
Right.
Would be a private road at that point, right? Out to there.
Through this
Yeah.
property, yeah. Yep. Number 5, blocks of lots are located and laid out to properly relate to adjoining or nearby lot or parcel lines, utility streets, or other existing or planned facilities. I think they're laid out in a manner that best suits the topography. And don't really conflict with the adjacent subdivision lots.
Chair, as a comment, there's nothing that establishes other property lines and lot lines. So what you just said, that it makes more sense based upon the existing topography, is where you would go for your defensible position.
No, it does not affect parcel lines, utility streets, or other existing planned facilities.
There's nothing to properly relate to.
The lots are laid out in a manner that best suits the topography and don't conflict with the adjacent subdivision lots.
Sounds good. Number 6, the proposed property is physically suited for the type and proposed density of the development and does conform to existing zone standards.
Meets open space requirement.
Meets open space requirements, meets lot density requirements, and I think that's it. Physically suitable.
Meets the minimum standards of the zone.
Meets minimum standards of the subdivision, or the zone, the current zone.
Yep.
The proposal meets open space and lot density requirements, and it meets the minimum standards of the current zone.
Perfect. Okay. And then conditions, right? So
1 through 3 is written in the staff report. You want me to read this condition number 4? We're gonna scratch condition number 4. And the new condition number 4 is a cul-de-sac shall be placed within the north end of lot 2 to meet the highway standards and roadway development procedures of Kyle Burmester. I'm sorry, of Bannock County.
Careful, I'm typing, I'll write it.
It's on public record now. Kyle's been memorialized.
and conditions 5, 6, and 7 as written.
Yep.
And we'll, we're gonna need to reread them
We'll
when we
read
go
those.
through a motion.
Yeah, we'll read those when we do the motion.
Okay, so I think we're ready for a motion, unless there's any other.
If one of you guys will
comments.
do the motion, I'll read the conditions if that's okay.
I'll read the motion.
Okay.
Based on the record and the discussion this evening, I move to approve the request for the Pheasant Valley subdivision concept plan as described in the application materials as supplemented with additional information attached to the staff report and according to testimony received, and to adopt the proposed findings and order for signature by the chair or vice chair with the following conditions for approval.
Conditions on staff report, page 75 of 365. Condition 1 is depict all current and proposed easements and right-of-way located within the subdivision on all subsequent plats, to include measurements and instrument numbers when available. Condition number 2 is access easement to be no less than 60 feet wide. Condition 3 is access easement must connect to the parcel south of lot 3. Condition 4 is a cul-de-sac shall be placed within the north end of lot 2 to meet the highway standards and roadway development procedures of Bannock County. Condition 5 is include the proposed stormwater detention retention methods and measures adequate for controlling post-development stormwater runoff on the preliminary plat and construction plans. Condition 6 is all subsequent plats shall state open space is a separate lot or common owned lot and deed restricted against further development, but may be used for farming, timbering, wildlife preservation, or conservation per Bannock County Planning and Development Council. And condition 7 is the subdivision name shall be changed to present and presented to council on preliminary plat.
Okay.
We need a
second.
mark.
Can I ask a question, please? Or remind me of this?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Yes.
Do you need construction plans for that driveway up to the cul-de-sac? Is that what you're needing? Is that heard him say construction plans? This is a private drive, so,
That, you'll have to ask staff that.
okay.
I think so, but I don't know for sure. The construction plans had to do with stormwater retention and detention. That's where they were addressed,
Oh, I thought you
on that
were-
condition.
Sorry, I misheard that.
So. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Barbara Hill. Chad Selenite,
Yes.
Edward Ulrich,
Yes.
Stuart Ward.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Perfect, thank you. Yeah, you'll just have to get with staff on that.
Okay, because, all right. Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, agenda item number 7, yeah. Is a variance from section 337, building bulk and placement standards. Jeremy Manska requests a variance to reduce the side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet, and the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet for one residential accessory structure. The affected property is currently addressed as 14792 Hamilton Lane in Chubbuck, 83202. Procedures and standards for value and variance petition are found in section 540 of Bannock County zoning ordinance. Okay. Jeremy.
Jeremy Mansko with Westwind Construction, 1655 North 2nd Avenue, Pocatello, Idaho. We're requesting a variance from the side yard and the rear yard down to 5 feet for a 800 square foot garage. This is in the Westfield Estates subdivision, Division 3. There's been similar variances that have been passed in this same subdivision. And Division 4, there was a blanket variance for the entire subdivision. So we're just conforming to what's been done in the past. We're meeting the City of Chubbuck setback requirements for the accessory structure.
Okay. Perfect. Any questions?
I have a question. So you state that there's like a blanket variance. What, and I'm not familiar with that. Is that clear from 20 feet to a 5 foot?
So I believe the variance was approved by council for division number 4. This is division number 3. So allowing those residents
But to
to.
change that setback from a 20 to a 5
Yep.
foot?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, that blanket variance was for Division 4 through the remainder of the subdivision
Yeah,
to meet
Division
City
4.
of Chubbuck setbacks, because this property will be annexed into the city.
Into Chubbuck?
Yeah,
Yep, gotcha.
and so they're just, and that's what the city setbacks are. So that's.
Versus the county?
Versus the county
Yeah,
ones.
okay.
This is the second shop that we've done in this subdivision personally, but there's more than a dozen shops in this
You're done.
development that are meeting this same requirement.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Any other questions for the applicant? No more from them? Any? Okay. Awesome, thank you. Staff?
Hughes Williams, Bannock County zoning planner. Do you have any other questions for us?
No.
The only reason why we're really seeing this is because the fourth, it is, 3 was passed prior to the discussion with City of Chubbuck to allow their setbacks, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so to me, it's not really much of a discussion, but that's
No,
okay.
but I do have one question for staff. Because I'm guessing this isn't gonna be the last one we see in divisions 1, 2, or 3. Is there a way to just revise that blanket variance to include 1, 2, and 3?
No.
Or do a new one that includes 1, 2, and 3?
Nope. You would have to
Speed
have,
up Chubbuck's
you have to
annexation.
have every resident that now has a home to sign off on that. And if the developer wanted to go through that process to get the blanket and then contact all of those property owners, great, but we're not doing that.
And then what? One
Understood.
single
Okay.
hearing for the whole subdivision, if everybody signed up.
If everybody signed up, yeah, okay. Okay, I just,
I hate to be the government and say, that's not my job. That's not my job.
Understood. I just wanted to make sure, because this is like the third one in the
Yep.
last
Real
18
quickly,
months.
the developer, once they realized after the first 3 phases, as they got ready to go into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they realized the potential issues, and so then, before anything was sold, et cetera, they came before council and requested that blanket variance across those next phases.
Gotcha.
That's where that came from.
Okay.
Phases 1, 2, and 3 were the driver to then get their attention and say, we need to do this so that every single homeowner that decides to do this doesn't come before council.
Okay.
But for those first 3 phases, kind of behind the rock and a hard spot.
Okay. And this is, it appears that this came through as part of a building permit. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But this does not affect the main structure, just the shop?
Just the shop.
Okay. All right. Go through the findings. Number 1, the applicant, these ones are hard because of this.
Yes.
The applicant has shown there is not a reasonable alternative. This is based on the
Size of the lot, there's no other practical place to put the shop. I like that. I mean,
You could change the size of your shop though,
you could move it and access off the other road,
so that.
but I don't know that the city would like that. I don't know.
I'm
that
just
the
trying
county
to
would
figure out
allow
how to
that either,
simplify it,
so-
because the city,
Gotta word that.
but you can't answer this and say, because city of Chubbuck likes it this way.
Or similar, because similar.
Although, can we do
similar
that?
variances have been granted in this development. I don't know.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Similar variance requests have been granted in this phase and previous phases of the subdivision. That's gonna be like a copy paste on
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All of them.
And it falls within the city of Chubbuck's, which this subdivision is an impact, right?
It is, but it still has to meet, it doesn't actually fall in the city of Chubbuck's jurisdiction
Not
until they
yet, but it
annex
will.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps us by mentioning that it is in compliance with future
City setbacks.
city setbacks.
I would probably put that on 2 or 3.
Okay.
So for 1, I have, this is based on the size of the lot and because previous variances have been granted in this subdivision.
Sure.
The word reasonable, being within the bounds of common sense. So what is the common sense of where that's placed?
It's in line with the,
In line with the existing garage and in line with the existing driveway, so therefore it is reasonable.
Okay.
location is, so do we need to reword that?
Yeah,
now?
do you want something
Yeah.
in there?
The proposed location is in line with the residence,
The existing driveway. and
existing driveway and garage. Yeah. Number 2, the variance is not in conflict with the public interest. I think that goes back to what you were saying.
It meets the future requirements after annexation by city of Chubbuck.
And conforms with the blanket easement for future phases of this subdivision
And previously granted
and previously granted variances.
variances in phases 1 through 3.
It meets the future requirements after annexation by the city of Chubbuck and previously granted variances in phases 1 through 3, as well as the blanket variance for phases 4 through 8.
Perfect. Number 3, the variance will not adversely affect adjacent property. I think the answer is a copy paste from number 2. Yeah.
Adjacent property already has a shop. Looks like it's very
Yeah. Number 4, if the variance is not granted, the applicant will suffer undue hardship caused by the physical characteristics of the site. That's a hard one.
I mean, it's a little
but-
bit copy and paste from number 1.
From number 1.
Size
Yeah.
of lot and the proposed location is in line with existing
Yeah.
driveway and garage.
That works. Okay.
We didn't see any
And I
conditions.
didn't see, there was one condition, the variance to be approved for one residential accessory structure.
Oh, there it is.
I think we
Can you live
include
with
that
that?
one.
Okay.
Do you want that on there?
Yes, please.
Will you read it to me, please?
The variance to be approved for one residential accessory structure. Okay. Any other comments? Barb, anything? Okay. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion then.
Second that motion.
Perfect. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Barbara Hill. Chad Selenite,
Yes.
Edward Orridge,
Yes.
Stuart Ward.
Yes. Motion passes. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8. I am going to recuse myself for this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna step down. I think all those are for number 8.
Okay. Okay, agenda item number 8. Subdivision concept plan, Reynolds Acres, Stuart Ward proposes to replat Lot 2, Block 1 of Lily Sue subdivision. The proposal is to create a 2-lot subdivision from the total of approximately 2.07 acres. The development proposes individual wells and septic systems per each lot. The subject property is located in northwest quarter of the northeast quarter section 30, Township 7 South, Range 36 East, Lot 2, Block 1 of Lily Sue subdivision, Bannock County. The buildable lots will be between 1.05 and 1.08 acres in size. The property is labeled as tax parcel RPRRL by S000200. The procedures and criteria for evaluating a conceptual plan are found in section 302 of the Bannock County subdivision ordinance. Approval or denial of this request shall be in accordance with standards prescribed therein. This is going to be a type of action, will be a decision action item. So we will invite Stuart Ward. Did he step out? All right.
I stepped down. Sorry.
Yeah, you're okay.
Are you doing it?
I think they're gonna have me do it.
Do you want, okay, John, you can do it? You know the drill.
John Thurnagle, 1890 Touch Drive. I am a neighbor of Paul and Lori Reynolds, the applicants. In personal conversations in the last year, they had approached me and asked if it was an option to potentially subdivide their property for whatever personal reasons, whether it was unused or too much for them to take care of. And in my line of work, I've done some developing, and I said I think it would be worth looking into. And so we went through the appropriate steps, made some phone calls to the county in understanding the comprehensive plan and the density and zoning of the current property. We went through those steps and met with the appropriate people, and have retained Stuart Ward through Dioptra to help us with the survey work to ensure that we're doing it right and we're meeting the proper boundary lines. And that's where we're at today, to bring that for your approval.
Any questions for John?
I just was, is that to get the full 1 acre, this little
Yes.
jog right there?
Yep.
Yeah, I
That was to
curious, just
accommodate.
To make
Yep.
the 1 acre requirement. Yeah,
Yes.
Gotcha.
And there's multiple ways of doing that. If you do it in the back, or we can encumber from between the shop and the home if we needed to move that fence line. So, I mean, if it was undue, I'm sure we could make whatever, but this was how we proposed it.
What is the acre size of most of the other properties within the subdivision?
That's great. Most of them are 2.5 acres.
Okay.
My property is 3.47. I'm 3 houses down on the same side. There is one that's 1.1.
Okay.
And there's since been, all properties were established. If you look just on the 1819 Touch Drive, that has been split and divided.
Okay.
And the property has been built on 1.2 acres. And so there now are personally 2 1.1 and 1.2 acre homes that are in the residence. So the standard's kind of already been created, and we're just looking to potentially replicate it.
Look like all 1 acre lots.
But they are.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have letters, I don't know if they've been presented to you, from a few of those homeowners on Honeysuckle that are in favor of this, in support of it, but I don't know when you would like us to supply those.
We can ask the staff that in a minute.
Okay, just so that note has been made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for John?
I don't have any, no.
Barb? Okay.
Thank
John.
you.
We might have you back up.
Thank you.
Staff report.
Hal Jensen, Planning Director. You've had the staff report in front of you, you've reviewed it. Mr. Thornagel has done a clear, concise presentation. Do you have any questions of the staff report over and above your conversations with Mr. Thornagel? Okay.
Give me just a second. I'm kind of going back and forth here.
I was scrolling through the staff report real quickly relative to, we have items from agency comments and soil report.
Got 6 recommendations, so 6 conditions.
And I was looking to see if any of those letters of support had been submitted, and I don't see them attached as part of the staff report package.
Okay, so how do we?
If I don't have hard copies right now from the applicant, bring them up and apply them to the table and submit them in for the public record. Thank you.
Okay. I don't need to read all these things, correct? I just need to submit that we've got
There's
the
actually
names.
7 copies of the same thing.
Oh, 7 copies of the same letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 letters, 7 copies.
Two letters, okay, they're stapled together.
Okay.
All right.
Support from Don and Joe Merrill.
And that's the front letter.
Yep.
And then the second letter is support from
Stephen Rivera and Judy Whitworth. So,
okay. All right. And then we've got 7 conditions that have been added. Have you reviewed those with the owners, Stuart? Or do you want me to read them?
Not.
Okay, I'll read them real quick.
I didn't have any concerns with them.
Okay.
But you can read them.
I'll read them. First condition was that they depict all current and proposed easements and right-of-way located within the subdivision on all subsequent plats, including measurements and instrument numbers when available. The second one is all subsequent plats shall state 15-foot wide easements are for all public utilities, roadway slopes, snow removal and drainage. The third one, all subsequent plats shall state construction of any water well is restricted within 100 feet of the easterly boundary. 4 is documentation from Southeast Idaho Health that the sanitary restrictions will be lifted for both lots. 5 is developer will install shared irrigation system if water rights are being delivered to both lots. 6 is developer to install the approach to each lot meeting the standards of the Bannock County Highway standards and roadway development procedures. 7 is development to provide documentation that power has been extended to each lot. And then 8 is all subsequent plats shall state open space for the subdivision was provided on Lily Sue subdivision. So if there's nothing alarming there, okay? Correct. Based off the plot, the staff report, that was the only question I had, was those conditions. Now we'll move on to public testimony. So as we've read in, we've got letters written in favor of this from Don and Joseph Morrell, and also a letter written by Steve Rivera and Julie Whitworth in support. Those will be added to the public record. We have no neutral, but we have 3 folks who would like to testify in opposition. So we'll start first with Curtis Smith.
Let me go first, to be okay, because I need to get out of here. Can you go with Larry first?
Who?
With LM.
LM Bull?
Yeah.
Come on up, sir.
Yeah. I gotta get out of here, so I've been sitting too long.
Name and address to start with.
Okay, Larry M. Bull, 5787 West Portland Road, Hoaxdale, Idaho. I'm the original developer of this project. And what we're proposing here tonight violates everything that we went through 10 years ago. There are certain things that the planning and zoning went through. I originally wanted to put 15 lots on it, but the county regulations prohibited that. The fire department prohibited that. Let's start with the fire department first. There's only one access to this. The Bannock County Volunteer Fire Department came in and testified, we will only approve 14 lots where there's a cul-de-sac and only one entrance. And the way it was set up, that's the only way we could develop that property, was to put a cul-de-sac in and go along with the 14 lots. The second objection I have is that I originally sold these lots to people that there would only be 14 there. And the county requirement is 5 acres subdivision. The whole subdivision is 71.5 acres. And so there is 14 lots, there is times 5, 70 acres. So we don't have enough open space to do that. And for the people that bought the lots originally, I would be remiss if I didn't come in and point this out. In fact, this is the third time I've battled this. 2 times I was trying to get it through for 15 lots, and there's no way that I could get it through because of the fire restrictions. Now, so it was set up for 14 lots. The infrastructure does that. The irrigation system that is put in, there's 14 outlets. There's not another outlet. True, you can do 1 acre lots, which we did, but you have to have the access for the fire department for no more than 14 lots. I mean, that's just standard procedure. And to give a variance for the 15th lot, I think there's some major reasons why that can't be done. I definitely wanted to put in 15 lots when I subdivided it. Couldn't get it through. We had this meeting 4 different times, couldn't get it through. Finally, we settled with the fire department and with the county planning and zoning, and the county commissioners even got involved in it. And they said, okay, we'll go for 14 lots and that will be it set up. So I sold the lots to the original people based on there would only be 14 lots there. And that's what the planning and zoning approved. County regulations don't allow for 15 lots in there, so.
Thank you.
That's all I've got to say.
Appreciate it. All right. Dan Bull.
Yeah.
Okay. Curtis Smith.
Hi, I'm Curtis Smith from 1859 North Honeysuckle Lane. I own property that abuts the entirety of the east side of the proposed subdivision. And currently, I enjoy a view of the western hills of Black Rock, unimpeded by vertical development. I object to the proposed subdivision and worry, if approved, what precedents could be set for similar requests in the future. Lily Sue subdivision is a platted subdivision which by reference incorporates recorded restrictive covenants. Page 8 of those restrictive covenants state that no building shall be erected, altered, placed, or permitted to remain on any lot other than one detached single-family dwelling, one attached or detached building for a garage, and one barn. All of these currently exist on the present lot. The CC&Rs further state that no lot may be divided, subdivided, or separated into smaller parcels. I purchased my lot understanding that no further development could occur on the lot behind me. It's worrisome for existing or prospective landowners and their detrimental reliance on recorded CC&Rs if the restrictions in place can so easily be overturned. Any landowner in the subdivision has the right to bring suit for enforcement of those CCNRs. I am not one. And so I'm voicing my objection on that basis in this venue. Thank you.
The last one we got is Dan Bull.
Sorry, it'll take a little time.
No problem.
Okay, Dan Bull, 3408 West Portneuf Road, Ankeny, Idaho. Just want to clarify on this one lot that here that was already split. Okay, that is just to do for farming purposes. It is still not ever replatted or never anything. It's just been taken off from that piece, but still belongs to that piece. And we already have like an agreement with the owner of that property with the house, Briscoe, that he will buy it as soon as I quit farming. Is right now looking like I'm gonna quit farming. So that will go over and it'll be one lot. It's not buildable as it is right now. So that's kind of a moot point. And on the irrigation, you know, we put that whole system in. And it is now owned by Lily Sue Homeowners Association. So if that transfers into another subdivision, they will have no water right. So the water's gone. And it says also in there, when anybody buys a lot and hooks up to that power box, the buyer will reimburse the original developer for using that power box for the idle cost of idle power to put it in. And we put in a 10,000 gallon water tank on lot 1 for the same reason of Bannock County's rules for fire suppression. So if this turns into another subdivision, I don't think it would be fair to anybody else living in Lily Sue to have another subdivision still getting all of the Lily Sue benefits. And really, that's all I got. You know, if you have any questions for me, I'll be free to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Chad, got any new questions?
I guess it's where, he talked about the CCRs and with the homeowners association, I'm assuming, right? How does that cross-reference with the county, with what our job is?
We don't have any jurisdiction on CCNRs, correct?
So does that conflict on by us approving or not approving this particular project, if it goes against the CCRs, it doesn't matter?
The way we have to look at this, and again, this is kind of, we don't have any jurisdiction over water, septic, health. Ours is strictly, does the ask of the applicant fit within the planning and zoning ordinances?
Yeah.
Okay, so the only question I would have in that, I was gonna ask Barbara if she had questions first, is if there's deed restrictions from the fire department that limits this to 14 lots, that is documented, that we've been able to find, or that, you know what I'm saying? Because like an open space, that's deed restricted, that's permanently on the deed of all these properties that says it can no longer, this is how many. And the deed restriction on open space is by acreage, correct? Not necessarily the count or number of lots. So that's where I was just gonna ask that question, if there was, if there was a restriction placed on the deed from the fire department. John, I'll ask you these questions, I guess, then.
John Thurningle, 1890 Touch Drive.
So I'll let you do a rebuttal and then we'll ask you that question, so.
I know that this lends itself to some complexities where you do create a new subdivision within a subdivision. I don't think, and I'm speaking for the applicant, I don't think they have plans to actually build a house immediately. They are coming here, seeing if this is an option through the county to get it approved. And then based on that, I think they have full intent to go back to the HOA and the subdivision and work through the details as far as water rights. I feel there were some things that you know, the water system was put in, but it was put in after the fact by the subdivision, not by the developer. It was not put in one riser per lot. I have 5 on my personal property, and so there's over 25 risers. There's one on each of these potential splits, so that facilitation is already in place. All of the logistics can be worked through if we can work through the county. Really, all we're trying to do is get the county ordinance approved and see if we have something viable. And if we do, we're not trying to skip any steps. I have personal water rights on the Portneuf River Basin that exceed the seniority of the personal water rights within the subdivision that I'm willing to freely give to this individual if the subdivision doesn't want to give them rights. So I'm willing to give them free of charge. Let that be, what's
water,
that?
But once again, water's not.
That's not the
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
And we're not trying to do something that's gonna make everybody mad. The applicant came to the purpose of doing this because there were already 2 lots within the subdivision that were like kind. You know, and whether the parcel that was split with or without a development right, per the CCNRs, it violated, the developer themselves violated the ordinance that they now say that can't happen.
Okay.
So that's really not what's at question. We're coming as an applicant, we're trying to see if we're, you know, complying to the comprehensive plan. Does it meet the ordinance? Does it meet the density? Can we get that approved?
Yeah,
And we're willing to
what
work
we're
out,
looking
we're willing to work out all the other issues. I'm a member of that and, you know, a supporting member of that
Community.
HOA.
Yep.
And I've been the president for many of the years. And so I'm happy to participate in that and work through that. And I'm sure the applicant, they've been a great homeowner and a wonderful neighbor. And they're not trying to do anything in the secret of night. They're trying to, you know, everything was notified and they're willing to go before the committee at the HOA and try and work through some of these things, you know, based on approval per the city ordinance or the county ordinance.
When was this subdivision put in?
It was put in 2007 is when it was done.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So not 10 years ago, but 17. So.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, John, appreciate that. So I lean heavily onto the staff report then, that if this meets the requirements and it's not deed restricted to do the split, then we've got the 8 conditions. And then, of course, all the other water, fire, all that other stuff is handled on their side.
Correct.
So ours is just, doesn't meet it, and we have the capability to split.
Correct.
So with these conditions, that's an affirmative.
Yep, and I double checked the plat and I did not see any notes deed restricting from further development on the plat, which is where a deed restriction on a
Would
platted
be.
subdivision would be.
Okay.
And our current ordinance does allow 19 or fewer lots on
Okay.
one ingress egress.
On one.
Yep, once you
Okay.
hit 20, that's when you have to get a second means of ingress and egress.
Okay. And that's all we can rule on is what we currently are at. We can't
Correct.
go back to the past and say, this is what it is. This is, we're looking at what the ordinance allows today.
Yes.
Okay.
And we do have this on the plat that says you cannot do that. It's recorded.
That's something you're gonna have to take up after this hearing.
But she just said it wasn't on there, but it is.
She did not find it on the plat. is
It's
what
on
she
the
said.
front page. We have a copy right here. Bottom left corner.
Ask him to submit. Bring the copy forward.
Okay, bring that copy forward then. We'll look at it.
And here, she's gonna take a copy.
Does the county ordinance,
Name and address again.
okay, Larry Bull, 5787 West Portland.
Actually, we probably shouldn't have
Yeah,
any
we're not-
testimony. If we ask you
we're
a
done with-
question, we can then get an answer, but we haven't asked you a question.
Sir, we're done with
We can't,
testimony.
yeah, we can't have you come up and just testify again. If we
Okay.
asked you a question, we
Then
can,
I want to point out that the county ordinance
we can strike
requires.
this, right?
Yes,
Yeah, we can't,
please take
yeah.
your seat,
yeah, we can,
because we are proceeding with the meeting, okay?
yep.
Do I get to talk again at all?
No.
No.
That was your 3 minutes before.
So the reference that they gave us, it is just the instrument number for the codes, covenants, and restrictions, which are a civil matter and
Okay.
have no bearing on the plat.
Perfect, all right. Barbara, do you have any questions? With this hearing, fire department was already contacted. They have the ability, correct?
Correct,
With all these hearings.
Yes.
They have the ability to reply and respond.
correct.
We
and
do have a
no
letter in
reply.
here from, who did I see it from?
We have a letter from DEQ.
We got letters from DEQ. And I think they're the only ones that responded to this, correct?
I believe so.
Which is not uncommon in these hearings. Okay. All right, then we will proceed. Barb, do you want to put a condition on there, or are you okay that they've had a chance to speak their piece?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay.
I represent the,
Ken, come up and give us your name and address. Thank you.
Ken Gibbs, 9754 West Gibson Jack Road.
We'll have you fill out one of these papers too. Okay.
I'm a commissioner for the Pocatello Valley Fire Protection District, and I just want to go on record that we have not been contacted with regard to this request.
Okay. Thanks. So we can just add that as a condition. Okay.
Before you move forward, council, adjoining neighbors contacted our office, and so before we moved this forward, we asked county legal to review. County legal review came back that there was no case law relative to acting on attaching CCNRs to the plat.
Okay.
Should that arise, that would be a civil action that would need to be filed by anyone who contests. We were counseled that we would move forward based upon current ordinance, and there was no case law relative to attaching CCNRs.
And hopefully you guys understand that. All we can rule in this body is current ordinance and current statutes within Bannock County. So that's where we're at. Then what we'll do here then is Barb will add one more condition here, and that is that the applicant or county needs to contact fire department.
Applicant.
The applicant needs to contact the fire district for any advisement on their side. Does that make sense? Okay.
I think they were on the email strings originally. They sent emails out to.
The county does a good job of sending that out. Now, whether or not the people within the fire district got it, whether it went to junk file, whatever, I know that that's standard procedure. Is there's a list within Bannock County that they get an email and a contact, and they have so many days to respond. DEQ does a good job of responding almost every time. I think some of the fire districts that are further south respond every time, but then others we don't. And so that's something that we'll look into and
I
double
can
check.
certainly do a face-to-face also.
Well, and that we're gonna put that requirement on the conditions, and then that leaves it up to you as the applicant to go forward and meet with the fire district and make sure that everything is copacetic on their part. All right. Are you good? To start moving through findings, or do you got questions still?
I don't have questions, I just give a concern. I just think, regardless of intent, and I'm probably not even saying what I'm supposed to be saying, but this is split up, this is split up. We're gonna see this every time, regardless of intent. This will not be the last time we see this same topic, so.
That's right.
Concern, not question, but.
And it's
Yeah.
gonna be subject to current
Yeah,
code, so if the
I
code
understand.
changes again,
Yeah,
it's gonna be subject to that unless it becomes deed restricted.
yeah, I understand that. I just
Okay.
voiced my concern is what it was, so.
Yep. And you're here for 3 years, so you will see it again.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start working through, I'm trying to find them here.
Page 248.
Yep, almost there. If I go too fast, I skip over the top of it, now I'm in the wrong hearing. All right, the proposed tentative plan is in conformance with the Bannock County Comprehensive Plan and is in conformance with the applicable provisions of this order, other county ordinance is Idaho code. So as discussed, this request to split this lot is within compliance of the Bannock County subdivision. Was it 302? Is that it? The top, is that? For concept plan?
Yes.
Yes.
For minimum lot size.
For minimum lot size, yeah,
And open space.
and open
So then
space.
we're gonna subdivide all that.
So I have the request meets current subdivision standards for concept plan as well as for minimum lot size and open space.
Correct, thank you. Second one, the proposed road and bridge are designed and constructed according to section 402 of the subdivision ordinance. A design deviation was not requested and was not granted to equal or exceed these standards for purpose. There is no changes to road or bridge within the subdivision. Pipe up if you want to
Yeah,
add
if I got
something.
something
Yeah,
to add,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, please do. Number 3, the proposed partitioning of land does not prohibit the extension of dedicated streets or roads. Dedicated streets and roads are already existing.
Yeah, existing roadways.
And
And
will
not-
serve this lot, these
Yep.
lots.
And will serve, yep. Number 4, the proposed partitioning will not conflict with legally established easements or access within or adjacent to the proposed land partitioning. Nothing changes with easements or access. Both lots are accessed by existing infrastructure. Number 5, the blocks and lots are located and laid out to properly relate to adjoining or nearby lot or parcel lines, utilities, streets, or other existing or planned facilities. All adjoining lots are already existing. How do we say this? Laid out. How about we just say that it,
Existing power, existing roadway.
yeah, it already relates to the existing infrastructure.
Question, number 5 answered itself, well,
Yep.
are located and laid out properly.
Existing is the key one.
So I have the proposed lots are located to properly relate to the existing utilities and road.
Perfect. Number 6 is the proposed property is physically suitable for this type of proposed density of development and does conform to existing zoning standards.
What's minimum lot size?
It meets minimum lot size
Minimum one.
and density
For this.
For this zone.
for this zone, yes.
Yeah. For the zone. The recreation, well, it's not, it's residential suburban.
RR, is it RRs?
RR.
Okay.
And then your conditions of approval don't change.
Yeah. We've got 7, I'll go back to it there. There's 7 conditions for approval, and then Barb's gonna add an 8th one.
So I have a condition written if you'd like me to read it for that.
Yeah, if you'll read it before we do a,
So I have applicant shall contact the fire district and submit written comments. In absence of written comments, proof of contact at least twice shall be submitted at the preliminary plat.
okay. All right, and then I guess we're ready for a motion.
Yeah, I'll do the motion.
Okay.
Based on the record and the discussion this evening, I move to approve the request for the Reynolds Acres subdivision concept plan as described in the application materials as supplemented with additional information attached in the staff report and according to testimony received, and to adopt the proposed findings and order for signature by the chair or vice chair with the following conditions, which would be the fire one, if you could add that in there.
So the conditions
And then the
1 through 7 as written,
1 through 7 is written.
1 through 8 as written, sorry.
1 through 8 as written, and then, is that number 8 you're doing
And then
there?
number 9.
And number 9 with the fire.
And you can
Do you
read
want me to read it?
Yes.
Applicant shall contact the fire district and submit written comments. In absence of written comments, proof of contact at least twice shall be submitted at preliminary plat.
Okay, that's a motion. Barb, you want to second that? Okay, motion's been, the motion's been presented and seconded. Roll call vote.
Barbara Hill. Chad Selenite,
Yes.
Edward Ulrich.
Yes. Motion carries a 3-0 vote in the affirmative. Thank you. Stuart. Yeah, we take break.
Yeah. Me too.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, you can, Barb, we're gonna take a quick break
Since that was done at
so we can pause that recording.
No.
Okay. All right, agenda item number 9 is a variance from section 337, building bulk and placement standards. Rich Phillips requests a variance to reduce the right-of-way setback requirements from 50 feet to 30 feet for one accessory structure. The affected property is currently addressed as 8255 West Buckskin Road, Pocatello 83201. Procedures and standards for valuing variance petitions found in section 540 of Bannock County zoning ordinance. Rich.
Chair, if it's all right, I've got some documentation I'd like to hand out. Is that okay?
Yes.
Just let you here, close up. Commission. Okay to start?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I apologize, you're just now getting these.
Name and address, sorry.
Rich Phillips, 331 North 13, no, that's okay, I'm sorry. I apologize, you're just getting these. The deadline passed, or as the deadline approached, we didn't have all of this information yet. And so I saved it until tonight. I also apologize because with the exception of the survey, the rest, they are not professionally rendered images, as you can tell. I just did that on the parcel viewer. But I think they make clear what we're trying to do. You guys will, with the exception of Councilperson Selenet, I don't know if I said that right, my apologies if not. We saw this in May. We presented back in May. I felt like that meeting got a little sideways, and so I appealed. The commissioners looked at it and decided that it was worth looking at again, and so we are back here tonight for go around number 2. I guess to start, I'm just going to read this real quick because it explains basically what we're trying to do. According to the table of building bulk and placement standards found on page 23 of the Bannock County zoning ordinance document, all residential accessory structures in residential rural zoning must be built no less than 50 foot from the right-of-way on an arterial or collector road and 30 foot from the right-of-way on a local road. Bray Enterprises, which is who I'm representing tonight, is located at 8255 Buckskin Road, which is considered an arterial or collector road, thus requiring a 50-foot setback. I'm here tonight to request a variance to this standard and ask that we be permitted to construct a single-story 30 by 40 shop for the purpose of cold storage to the standards of local roads, which would allow us to build within 30 feet rather than 50 feet of the right-of-way. The reasons for this request are numerous, and a quick history of the property will help explain our desire for the variance. 20 years ago, Mr. Bray purchased this property with the intent to operate a small farm and ranch. He began making improvements to the land to this end, including installing roughly 3.5 acres of irrigated pasture land on the lower part of the property. Approximately 10 years ago, he began raising cattle. Since then, Mr. Bray has collected a number of implements and pieces of equipment needed to run and maintain his operations, so much so that he would like to be able to store them out of the elements, both for practicality, as well as maintaining a clean and orderly property. Additionally, Mr. Bray would like a dry place to store supplemental winter feed. I was contacted a few months ago by Mr. Bray about constructing a shop that would fulfill these objectives. We met and walked the property, discussing placement of the shop. One area stood out as being ideal, an empty piece of rocky ground, unsuitable for cultivation, which also happened to be outside of his fenced pasture and located next to his outbuilding, located next to his existing outbuilding. For Mr. Bray's operation, this is the perfect place to build a shop. There's an established access road to get to it. It stands next to his current outbuilding and makes use of an otherwise empty and unfarmable piece of ground. It also lends itself to proper drainage and stormwater retention, something that's very important to Mr. Bray. So I'll stop there. I think that covers the basic facts. But if you look at what I believe is the third 8.5 by 11 in that little packet I stapled together for you, I've drawn out the dimensions. The survey showed, and this is when we presented last time, there were some questions about where exactly the center of the road was. The survey shows, that we're 30 feet off of center of the road, and so 30 feet, by the time you go 50 feet, that leaves us with approximately 24 feet to try and fit a 30 by 40 building in. And so the reason we're here is to ask that a variance be requested and we go down, and we're, truthfully, I only need about 10 feet to make all of this work, so we could do a 40 foot, but we chose 30 foot because the county already has code and language for it. So I think that's the basis and the basics of why I'm here. Happy to try and answer any questions.
Well, a minute and a half left, man. Yeah, he's already been here 2 hours.
So these dimensions, and Barb, sorry, you can't see these.
Yeah,
maps
Barb,
that
I'm
he
sorry, I
handed
didn't have a digital copy. I apologize. I should have thought of that.
out. But the dimensions that you show on this are just consecutive dimensions from the center of the road.
That's correct.
Okay. Just so we can see where the 50 would
Yeah.
hit versus where the.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering if you brought Dave Klatt out of retirement, but I had to go, I had to go search for a date, Rich, so good on you.
So I guess in probably some of the same questions as last time, but I don't remember what I asked you last time. But that area that you're proposing, you say it's obviously not farmable, but what is it used for right now? Just storage, like
He
outdoor
parks a couple
storage?
trailers on it.
Okay.
The very first page is a bird's eye view from, I don't know, maybe 500 feet or so aerial. And that, you can kind of get a pretty good idea. It's that light brown spot where obviously nothing is growing. And then the pasture is all on the downhill side. I believe it's to the west. No, sorry, to the south.
Okay. And I appreciate you bringing in the survey. That definitely helps.
Yeah, of course. Sorry we didn't have it the first time.
And I think I remember asking you this last time. Have you looked for or found any of those corners?
We've looked for.
You've looked
Not
for?
found
but
them.
not
I
found.
haven't taken a metal detector out, to be honest. We poked around for a bit.
Okay. I guess my biggest concern with all variances, like I said on to one of the other applicants earlier, is I don't want to grant a variance not knowing where that line is, and then we get ourselves in trouble because we think we know where it is, and then we get too close, even though we grant you a certain variance, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Understood.
that's why knowing where those corners are, where that line is important. And this one's a little unique because you're right on that curve.
Mhm.
So it's not,
Radius.
it's not a straight line to connect two dots kind of a thing. Which makes it a little trickier on your part to get that location exactly right, but.
Stuart, you would know because this is your line of work, but can we not, I mean, since this has been surveyed and can we not just go 30? I know that the issue with the road not being in the center, but with this survey, can we not go off of that? I mean, it's got a mark on there for 30 foot from the center of the road is where the property line starts.
Yeah, so the concern is that's 30 foot from, that's the center of the right of way, but the pavement may not be centered in that right of way.
Yeah, the pavement could be either direction.
Yeah, so that's the concern, is that if we're going off just that striped center line of the pavement, that might not be true center line of the right of way. So going to 30 feet off that, we may, in this case, you're asking for a lot where, no, I shouldn't say a lot, but going from a 50 to a 30, you still have 30 feet there. It's when we're going from a 30 to a 15, and that right of way or that center line of the road is
you could
5 or 10 feet off, and now we have a big issue. So that's my concern.
Sure.
but.
Let me re-ask, if that's all right with you, can I re-ask that question?
Uh-huh.
Is what we have on the survey, is it possible that that road, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is this not shot off of the road that's there currently?
No, it's not. So it's based on right-of-way monuments.
Yeah.
So property corners of the road right-of-way, would not based on the pavement.
Okay.
And so it may or may not be correct by going off that center line.
Okay, all right.
But if you can find, that's why, if you can find those, then you know exactly where that line is.
Yeah, I need to
and then
spend
it's
some-
easy.
Yeah.
Get
a metal detector out there.
I mean, this is only 11 years old. I would guess that they're still there, but who knows? I don't know what improvements have happened on that line in the last 11 years, but.
Depends on how far the grader in the snowstorm.
True.
Right away.
So, those, as before, those are my biggest concerns, is that granting variances, not knowing where those lines are. We could be getting you in trouble in the future, or I don't know if there's any repercussions that the county could have if there's a violation of that granted variance.
Yep.
So.
One question I had, that'd be to the road and bridge, but what's the likelihood that this road could be expanded? So back to where Stewart's at, if we're not 100% sure where that right of way's at and it expands it, let's add 2 lanes in that, and then bad to worse, right? So.
But there's no plans, I mean, obviously there's no immediate plans, but to widen this.
Well, like I say, it's a major collector. You've got a lot of expansion going, you know, all the way over Buckskin. So this is the only road that's gonna feed all of that traffic. So every time there is a development, and there's 2 right close to that, anytime anything changes, we gain more right of way. So we're trying to already make the right of way wider, like this spot particularly, it's 25 feet on the side you're talking about, not 30 from the center. And it's 30 on the other side because it was 50 foot and we're trying to get it to 60 foot. So every time something changes, we push that out. Just for the fact of keeping enough distance for expansion. There's talk of, in the near future, of bike paths. That's a very highly used road for bikers and stuff like that. So we just try to keep as much real estate as we possibly can.
So, I guess what you said just is contradictory to what the survey says. Survey says it's 60 foot right away all the way through this property, but 30 foot either side. But those new developments, how much additional
All
right
I
of
was
way?
saying is they added 10 feet to the opposite side, so that bring it up to the 60 foot. So that extra 10 feet is on the other side of the road. So when you're saying don't use the center line and stuff like that,
that's why.
That's why, is because there can be differences in.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So the road probably is closer to that side.
Opposite side or our side?
No, to your side than it is to the other because of the expansion of right of way.
But those new developments, how much more right of way are you getting with those?
It depends on what the current standards are. So right now it's 60 foot, so if it's meeting the 60 right now, and
Okay, so you're not asking for more than 60 on a major arterial right now?
well, it could be 80 on some, it depends, but it's up to 80 foot.
Up to 80 foot, okay.
But he's got, so we've got on a drawing, you got one drawing that's showing a 40 foot. And then you've got the other one asking for 30, correct? Was that old, was that the old drawing on here?
You're talking this drawing right here?
Yeah.
That's just the dimensions of the building.
No, what's that number right there?
It's 40 by 30, but that's the dimensions of the building
Let me just make sure.
that he's trying to do.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah.
So that's another, I mean, are you stuck to a 30 by 40? Go to a 20 by 40, you gain 10 feet, maybe to be more leeway, you know?
Well, not my property, or my barn, so I can't speak for Mr. Bray.
Yeah.
I think ideally the.
Just a thought.
Yeah, no, and, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. No, you're good. Barb, any questions? Okay. I think that's all we have for you right now. Thank you. Okay, staff.
Tristan Borkman, Assistant Planning Director. You've had the staff report for a week. Do you have any additional questions that you haven't already asked that I might be able to answer for you?
I don't think so. Barb, any questions for staff? Okay. There's nobody here to, in favor, neutral, or opposition. But Rich, is there anything else you want to bring up that you need to talk about?
No.
That we didn't already hash through? Okay. Sorry, I do have one more question for you if you'll come up here. Because I remember talking about this in fairly good detail last time. Is the elevation change between where you want to build versus the other side of that existing shed? And why the location that you picked is better than the other one, so can you explain that to us again?
I'd be happy to. I believe your staff report should have a topography. I didn't include one because there was one last time. I might be wrong, but a topography map would show a pretty severe grade coming off of Buckskin, headed towards the creek. Addition.
Pull back up. There's a sloping map in the packet. Or turn on contours in there.
Is this one?
No. Contour. Topography. Those contours. And then zoom in a little bit and turn on the 20-footers. Yeah, a little bit more.
You might,
Now turn on the 20-foot contours.
you might not get it.
Oh, never mind.
You might lock in the system too close.
He doesn't like it. Okay,
Marge,
never
there
mind.
is an image, page 255 of the packet, if you have the packet open.
Okay.
Well, yeah, if
I was just trying to get a bigger picture of it.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
what I have,
absolutely.
but-
So it's a fairly substantial grade. At some point, whether it was when he owned it or the previous owners, there is a established road that goes down to that flat spot. It's easily navigatable with a truck and even a car. But to push it further down into the pasture, that large green area, it just goes further downhill. So we weren't sure if, obviously on a private driveway to a barn, there's no real code, like a 10% code that exists for driveways in certain scenarios. We get that, but 10% seems to be what the county has deemed as safe and reasonable, and that's what they use for their code. I don't know that we can make 10% on this road, and so you think about feeding cows in the winter and trying to get tractors in and out of there. This upper area lends itself better to that. Additionally, the existing outbuilding that is there currently, the slope is steep enough that it's a walkout barn, I guess, so the bottom kind of is a loading shed. And so you would be on two different elevations, and so rather than having an efficient way to pass between the two buildings and store, tools in one and equipment in another and go back and forth, you'd have to walk back up to get into the outbuilding that's there and then walk back down. So just a bit of an inconvenience there. I didn't mention this. The other issue is just there would be a major cost. I brought this up last time and it was maybe talked about. I think it was that it's hard to determine whether or not cost is I forget the word and I apologize. Yeah, a burden. Yeah, unreasonable burden placed upon a property owner. But the cost associated with redoing the road, redoing the pad, redoing the fence, redoing the irrigation, and then losing up to an acre of pasture ground on such a small property, that would be a third of his pasture to tie up into ground. So it kind of, there is a significant cost associated that would not, we wouldn't have to deal with. And I understand that maybe someday in the future a road might be widened. I hate to see something that we're dealing with now get delayed for something that may or may never come to pass. I understand. I get where you're coming from, but again, that would be, in my opinion, an unfortunate reason to stop or delay a property owner from being able to use his property for something that may never happen in the future.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. Thank you.
So Stuart, if you're looking at that grade distance of 85.7 feet, I believe that is a 10-foot contour interval.
Those are 10 foot?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's 8.5%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you go back to the parcel view? And just zoom out and see what's the distance currently the house is from the main road?
That was what I was thinking.
I mean, the house looks like it's almost as close as this new one's gonna be. Let me zoom back into that parcel.
Orange, can you give us a distance from about there to the property line, please, the corner of that house?
From here?
Nope,
From
the corner of the house.
corner of the house.
That corner, right there. Yeah, just because I touched it, you're gonna have to clear it.
46 feet.
So we're real close to the 40-foot mark.
Will you do that one more time for me?
I think you're gonna be
From the,
close to
nope.
50 feet back. From that very corner, right? Right there. No. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Doesn't like my pen.
I bet if you zoomed in a little bit.
57 feet.
But
So it's
that-
about
but that-
50 feet
That's
off.
closer to the gable though, I don't know where you just put it, I bet you, yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
It's a, cause he's got part of that corner of the house shaded, so you can't really
Yeah.
see it.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay. Any other discussion?
I don't have any questions. My thought process is this, and again, this is no offense to Kyle and Road and Bridge, and just like, didn't mean any offense to Mr. L. We can't control what happened in the past, just as much as we can't control what's gonna happen in the future. So really, our snapshot is right now. Right now, is this a reasonable request or is it not? And so that's kind of what my thought process is.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And me personally, I don't have an issue. You know, when we have a side and a rear yard setback change, that's a really easy one for us to make a decision on. When it starts to affect the road, that makes it a little bit more difficult, but I still don't think that this one is unreasonable, but we'll get to that.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Ready to go through? So I can read it. Okay. You're gonna have to help me on some of these.
Yep.
Like number one.
Well, it goes back to what Hal talked about earlier. What is the definition of reasonable alternative? You know, to
Common
me,
sense alternative, so.
to me, if he's got a piece of flat ground, that we make a adjustment to put it on a piece of flat ground that's already there and existing, that's, you know, a reason.
Reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Spot.
Yeah, it's a reasonable spot. Tell him to put it on something that's dropping 8.5% grade. Is that reasonable for us to ask that? I don't think it is, when he's already got a spot that's already flat enough for it. So.
Well, I don't know that the property behind is dropping at 8.5%. Because looking at that picture, which picture was it? The sloping thing, it looks like the upper side of that barn, that existing barn is up here, the lower is down here, and there's a slope in between, and then it flattens out again back in the pasture area. So you have a flat spot up here by the road, but you also have this
Well, yeah,
2.5
flat spot in
acre.
the pasture, but that's.
But the common sense is if you have a building spot,
Yeah,
why would
use
you
it.
take pasture land when you have a common sense place for a building?
I understand.
And subtract or subtract pasture land to build a building if you've got a building site that works with a variance. The common sense application is.
There's a reasonable
Either
spot already
reasonable.
being requested, so.
And I get that, I just wanna make sure that our reasoning isn't just based on a slope.
Okay.
That may or may not
Pasture.
actually be the.
So
the
then we
issue.
can
So-
put that on there, that without reducing cultivatable ground,
Farmable ground.
farmable ground, yep.
Okay. So there is not a reasonable alternative.
That does not reduce farmable ground on this property.
Yeah.
This is
Do we need
based
more
on-
than that?
I don't think so. I have, this is based on the placement of the structure, not reducing farmable ground on this property.
Okay. The variance is not in conflict with the public interest.
Based on, we've had nobody come to,
Lack of public input.
yep, we have no public input.
I would say,
And amongst existing outbuildings, it's just add another one
Yep.
there, you know, so.
and it'll be fairly hidden from the road with all those trees in front.
That's right.
So I have, this is based on lack of public input, and it will be fairly hidden from the road with the existing trees along the roadway.
Did I read, before we move on to the next one, did I read something in the staff report that the side yard would have to be maintained? Side yard setback. Or is that just a given?
There's nothing in
There's
there.
nothing in there. Okay, maybe I had this one confused with one of the other ones then. Okay. The variance will not adversely affect adjacent property.
It will not affect adjacent property any differently than it currently is, so I don't see that's a
structure.
Yeah, the current structure is already there.
Yeah. And that's why I was
So will
asking
not
about
change.
side yard setbacks.
Yeah.
Side yard setbacks will be maintained.
Yep. Well, is the current building in the side yard setback, is it within, how about the side yard setback will be maintained with the other building? The setback of the other building?
We'll
Because I
have to
don't,
put that as a
because our,
condition.
yeah,
Required side yard setback will be maintained.
okay.
So there's already an existing structure and the required side yard setback will be maintained.
Number 4, if the variance is not granted, the applicant will, this one's a hard one.
I hate this one, but you're correct.
Will suffer undue hardship caused by the physical characteristics of the site.
The only alternative will reduce agricultural cultivatable ground.
Yep. Base number 1.
There's only one.
Which is a source of income.
Which is a source of income. And there was only one condition, and that was the variance
Variance
to
is
be for only
401.
one residential accessory structure.
Structure, yeah. Okay.
I can do a motion if you're ready for it.
I think we're ready. Are you ready, Barb? Okay.
Based on the record and discussion this evening, I move to approve the request for Rich Phillips for a variance for the right-of-way setback in a residential suburban zone to reduce the setback from 50 to 30 feet for one residential accessory structure as described in the application material, as supplemented with additional information attached in the staff report according to the testimony received, to adopt the proposed findings in order for signature for chair and vice chair. Because in the motion, we are saying for one accessory structure, we don't need to add a condition beyond that. So,
Do you want me to remove that then?
yes,
From the findings?
there's no condition, yep,
Yeah,
because
good
it's
catch.
already in the motion. And then it will have to be seconded.
I'll second it.
Too slow, Barb. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Barbara Hill. Chad Selenite.
Yes.
Edward Ulrich.
Yes.
Stuart Ward.
Yes. Motion passes. A little better outcome for you.
Yeah, hey, thank you, everyone.
Yep.
It was a
Thank
big, I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your patience tonight.
Of course, thank you.
Okay, that is the end of the public hearing items. Oh, thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Did we ever open public hearing items?
Yes, we did.
Good, okay.
Yes, we did. Okay. What's that?
Who seconded it?
Thank you.
I did. No, I made a motion on that one.
Chad seconded.
No,
Chad.
which one are you talking
To
about?
close the
To
hearing?
close.
To close the public hearing?
I seconded to close it.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, business item, agenda number 10, that's me. So I will recuse myself for this one.
Okay. Business item number 10 is preliminary plat approval for Stan's Industrial Park. Stan's Industrial Park, Stuart Ward represents preliminary plat approval for tax parcels RPR 401 300 6002 and RPR 401-300-6001 in accordance with procedures and standards established in the subdivision and zoning ordinances. Action. This is going to be decision action type. All right, Stuart, you got 6 minutes.
Okay,
If you need it.
I don't need the whole 6 minutes, but, Stuart Ward with Dioptra, 4880 Cloverdale and Chubbuck, representing, the applicant, or the owner, I should say. But this is the preliminary plat for Stan's Industrial Park. This is a planned unit development. The concept was approved back in June. Nothing on this preliminary plat has been changed since the concept. I know there was a few conditions. We have no concerns with any of the conditions. And I know the property has already been annexed into the city of Pocatello. So after this, my understanding is the final plat and the construction drawings and all that stuff will go through city of Pocatello process, not the county process, for those approvals and signatures and stuff. But since we started here, we gotta get through this point with the county. It's 10 lots, 2 blocks. They're kind of proposed to be shop office type buildings. The big office space and a small shop, or sorry, vice versa. Big shop space, small office space up front, with the exception of lot 1, block 2, which is an existing like transitional housing facility.
This is right next to the skate park?
This is right next to the old skate park, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And right next to a development that we've previously seen here. But unless you have questions, I don't know that I have anything else to present.
I have no questions. I remember this just came through on the,
Okay.
All right, any questions? Okay. Staff report.
Real quickly, you've had it for a week. If you have questions for me, I'll also iterate some of the things that Stuart has said. This has now been annexed in the city of Pocatello. This has been reviewed by the city of Pocatello prior to this meeting, etc. There are some items of input, but once we're finished here, as Stuart stated, the city of Pocatello then will take this for final plat and construction relative to utilities, curb, gutter, sidewalk, etc. I don't think there's anything here that is out of the ordinary. So if you have questions for me, great. If not, I would suggest that you move to findings.
Yep.
no questions.
Barb, no questions? Okay. I'm gonna move to the findings. As soon as I can find them.
Page 340.
Stuart does this on. All right. The preliminary plat is in conformance with the Bannock County Planning and Development Council's approved concept plan, all applicable provisions for Bannock County subdivision ordinance and the county codes and ordinances and Idaho codes. Can I say as demonstrated on the drawings? Or do I have to be more specific than that?
You can put that it is in conformance with the Planning and Development Council's approved concept plan. Applicant stated no changes have been made from the previous application.
Okay. Did you get all that? That's terrible. I know. Some of these are just, because there's only one answer to that. Alright, number 2, the street plan for the proposed subdivision will permit its development in accordance with the Bannock County subdivision ordinance. The street plan meets all requirements for Bannock County's subdivision ordinance.
And will connect with adjacent property. Oh, never mind. That's the same as number 3, Tristan. You can just copy that.
Yep. Number 3 is the street plan for the proposed subdivision will permit the development of adjoining land by providing access to that land by right of way dedicated to the county or a developed street to the property boundary. The street plan
Requirements have been met.
requirements have been met per the county ordinance and connection to adjacent properties.
Demonstrated on the drawing.
You good?
Got it.
Alright, number 4, lot lines and roads do relate to land shapes and existing developments. There's already approved developments adjacent to this, and it does comply and relate to those lines and land shapes. We'll get back to the conditions. Nope. Too far, just like I thought. Yeah, there's only a couple of
Two
them.
of them.
I'm just trying to get back to them so I can just read them real quick. Alright.
You want me to read the motion and you can read those?
Yep, we can do that.
Yeah, based on the record and the discussion this evening, I move to approve the request for the preliminary plat of Stan's Industrial Park as described in the application materials as supplemented with additional information attached in the staff report, and to adopt the proposed findings and order for signature by the chair or vice chair upon the following conditions.
Condition number 1 is developer should consider removing note 8 from the plat or updating the note to reference block 2 lot 5. Condition number 2, provide measurements of the temporary turnaround easement on the final plat and construction plans. Motion has been presented and seconded. Roll call vote. Oh, is there a roll call vote on that business item? Yes, sorry, yes.
Barbara Hill. Chad Selenite,
Yes.
Edward Orr.
Yes. Motion carries 3-0 vote in the affirmative. Moving on to business item 11, or agenda item 11. Yeah, business item 11. All right, Stuart, when's yours?
It's back to me. Okay. Agenda item number 11, conditional use permit extension request for truck stop. Jose Nava requests an extension on a conditional use permit for parcel number RPR 4433031201 in accordance with procedures and standards established in the zoning ordinance.
Have we seen this one before?
Yes.
I must not have been at that meeting.
So real quickly, let me give you some background. Tristan did the staff report on this, but I'll give you some quick background. Aaron Gepford, this is at Flags West. Aaron Gepford came in for the piece directly north of Flags West on the road connecting the interchange. Everything was moving forward 24 hours prior to signing the documents. The truck stop chain that was going to move in was sold to a conglomerate, and they pulled the plug on the project.
Okay.
Aaron has been working diligently with others. He did not want that conditional use permit to sunset while he was still in conversation and reached out to us for this extension. The original applicant was Jose Naya. So we asked them to provide us a request letter for an additional 6 months and a conditional use permit.
Okay.
While he still negotiates with another potential, and that's been back and forth for quite some time.
Okay.
And based on the staff report, the expiration date was August 15th, but they submitted on July 17th, so they submitted before the expiration, which is the criteria.
That's it.
So,
Single
let's go to
finding.
our one finding, and I just answered it, so will you just read that back to me? Just kidding. The proposal for, what's that? Oh, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Yes, it is.
I know where you're going, Mark, because I was thinking the same thing. Why don't we just give him a year, 2 years? Or...
Can it be reinstated after that 6 months?
No.
It's one
That's it.
extension.
By ordinance, they get one extension for 6 months.
The only way they get more is if the original application had a condition for a longer period than what
Correct.
ordinance is.
Which I believe
Which
it did
would-
have an 18-month expiration originally.
Which I think
Oh, we
3
did.
years ago, we actually did one with a longer extension because of the COVID situation, right? Okay.
Well, we've done some recently with longer,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Okay, now we're ready to go through findings?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. The proposal for extension was filed with the Planning and Development Council prior to the expiration date of the original conditional use permit approval.
Because Tristan said so.
As stated in the staff report, let me go back to it. Original expiration was August 15th of 2024. Applicant submitted the request on July 17th, 2024. Okay.
I think we should let let Barb do the final, her final,
The expiration, August.
motion.
15.
Barb.
Perfect. Do you have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Barbara Hill. Chad Selenite,
Yes.
Edward Orridge,
Yes.
Stuart Ward.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, next agenda, items of interest.
Hal Jensen, Planning Director, update on recommendation to commissioners, just so that you're aware, again, to reiterate that we are in conversation with Commissioner Moser relative to them appointing 2 new council members effective next month. Upcoming hearing items, we will have a concept plan, a preliminary plat, and a variance for next meeting. And I have no announcements because we have a short meeting. Tristan?
We will have a work session next month as well for comprehensive plan update.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Awesome. So I
Citizen, would you like to comment?
Citizen.
And that, sorry, that workshop, that's in September, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
How a
After
diehard
greeting.
lone citizen.
What's that?
How a diehard lone citizen.
Tristan, that work session's at the end of the meeting though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I move to close the business items.
We don't need to.
In the hearing.
We don't need to do
I'd
that.
just like to suggest to the chair to close.
Yeah,
the
Chair.
To adjourn, we are adjourned.
Stop recording.
Hold on, Carly.